Mm-hmm. Thank you.
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Yes, it is. Season 2, Episode 10. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo, Jen Rolnick, and our trusted producer, Sammy McKee. According to my lineup, JB,
Yeah.
the Leafs lose 3-2 to the lowly Arizona Coyotes. Since 2002, the Yotes have grabbed a point in every game in Toronto.
So
So not
you notice
only
you didn't get a big Sammy today.
Sammy, not only did you screw up the score on the on my
Empty netter.
yes, you forgot the empty netter.
I turned it off by then. Sorry.
And you can't spell Toronto.
Yeah.
My question to you to start this show is, are you okay?
Well, I forgot that I was with Johnny Journalist now. So old Kipper would have not noticed that. But now Johnny Journalist, big Toronto
I'm
Star
evolving.
columnist, you would have you picked that one up in a hurry.
In my clips in my article every week, I may write about you, Sammy.
I'm a dumbo.
Are
What do you
you
want from me?
okay?
Yeah, I'm
it's
fine.
2-2. The Leafs are off to a slow start. I haven't had a chance to listen to other, including here on at the fan. I have not had a chance to get a feel for what people are saying.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, is Rome burning here yet?
Yeah. It's at least on fire. I got to say, the greatest thing about how we do our show is we haven't talked about the game at all. We've been here for 2 hours. We have gone over the show's format, but every time a conversation starts, Kipper shuts it down. So
yeah, and that's the beauty of our show is that we have a general idea of how we think.
Topic.
Just from getting to know you over the last year and a half or whatever it is.
Yep.
But I don't know necessarily what you think. And right off the bat, I can tell you I somewhat disagree with you. At 2-2, I don't think Rome is burning just yet. But the Leafs, we never declared them as Stanley Cup favorites yet.
Some people did.
Rome is burning.
Who said they were Stanley Cup favorites? Who was that?
Between Rome
Odds.
Between Rome is burning and the Leafs winning the Stanley Cup, can't we find in the next little while where the truth kind of and reality lies for this team?
Yeah, but I'm sick of finding the gray area. Why do we always have to find the happy medium?
No,
It's not as good as you think. It's not as bad as you think. That sucked.
Yes. Okay.
That sucked. And you know,
You haven't lost me yet.
No.
It has sucked.
It sucked. And it's almost like if you tell a team for a whole season that nothing matters but the playoffs, they'll act like nothing matters but the playoffs. They could not have been less interested in that game other than skating around and collecting the 2 points they were told they were going to be handed en route to the playoffs, which they also believe they're going to be handed a ticket to.
So you bring a good point. It's like, is the narrative since the moment they lost out is nothing matters in the regular season, so they've started out as if nothing matters in the regular season?
I think so.
We're excited.
You know, I really do. I feel like it's
got to be more to that, though.
Well, I don't know. The whole talk, if they had come out 4-0, do you think anyone outside of Toronto would go, way to go, that's great? All you'd hear is, I'll do it in the playoffs.
But you'd also would have probably heard we beat teams that we're supposed to beat.
That's true. Yeah, you're coming out against Montreal, Ottawa, Arizona.
A Washington team that is
last year,
missing their number one centerman.
Yeah, and Tom Wilson. Yeah, so, and they were the 8th place team last year. So, yeah, it could not have been a more powder soft start to the schedule. And games like last night, I think Leafs fans are sick of seeing that. They're sick of going up against teams they're supposed to beat and it looking way harder than it should look.
I get the sense that, not to swear like Kyper would, but people are sick of this crap.
Yeah.
The sense I'm getting. I mean, you watched it last night. You heard it last night. The boos, they were raining
How
down.
bad were the boos? Because
I wasn't down there, but I mean, when it's on TV and you're watching it, it sounded somewhat loud, no? And they got booed up the ice in the second period. And every power play they're getting booed because it looks like crap. I get the sense that people are sort of sick of this team, that they're sort of sick of looking at this team that hasn't won anything. And like Bourne said before the show, act like they have won stuff. I do sense a little bit of not apathy, because apathy's a bad thing for Leaf fans. I think there's just a sense of they just kind of, I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but they just don't like them. I feel
That's
like.
what you're looking for.
No, resentment is what I'm looking for. They resent them.
You're talking about a pattern or a trend that's been around this team for over 50 years. And I'm sorry, Sammy, but you're the leader of the pack. You're the first guy to say you love them. You're the first guy to say they're going to win the Stanley Cup. And you're the first guy to kind of jump off the bandwagon right now.
No, I'm not. Hey, did I say it was me? I'm just saying, that's the sense I get from people I talk to.
Well, are you hating the team right now, Sammy?
Listen, I don't like watching them play like that against crappy teams.
Last night was not a fun experience.
The frustrating thing for me is how damn good they looked when they knew they had to be good.
Oh, I know. And you know what it reminded me of is watching them against Columbus in that 5-game series where Columbus packed it in and the Leafs had the puck and were the better team and should have scored and they just couldn't get the bounces and the goalies and yada, yada. They haven't found a solution to their kryptonite, which is pack it in and defend. They had 5 shots in the first period. Everyone talking about how much they had the hockey puck. They got 5 shots, 6, whatever it was.
If we were to break the first 4 games into a number of categories, net, defense, star players, injuries, where would you go first, JB?
I go to where Sheldon Keefe went after the game, star players. I don't think, Sheldon mentioned what should differentiate their team. And what's Austin Matthews has 1 even strength point in 4 games against, 3 powder puff teams from last year. Dennis Mulligan has a shot on the season, 4 games, 1 shot. Playing on the second line with Tavares and Nylander.
All right, let's get right into some Kypers Clippers here because Sheldon obviously had a lot to say last night. Before we get to those elite players, do you want to get Sheldon's assessment of the game and what he saw and what he felt?
That makes sense.
Okay, yeah. Let's go to that.
Thought that we started well in the game. Had full control of the game, had the puck. I mean, really the entire first period for the most part at 5-on-5. But couldn't get to the net. I mean, it's a credit to Arizona. I mean, they packed it in. They had 5 people on the inside blocking shots and defending their net. So we couldn't convert our offensive zone time into anything really tangible at the net. Thought that we had a shift in there at about 6 or 7 minutes into the first period. We felt like we had the puck in the zone for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And I thought that shift sort of lulled us to sleep. I just thought that from there it felt like we had full confidence that we were going to have real control of the game and we're going to get lots of chances at it. So then I thought we overhandled pucks. I thought we didn't get it to the net quick enough when we allowed them to get inside the way they defend the net. It's a much different game than any of the other 3 that we've played in that first period because we had the puck so much. It's a different type of game. You're always playing against their 5 players kind of standing on the inside. So it's a challenge that we didn't adapt to well enough. And then I thought special teams, obviously an issue. And I thought as the game went on, they gained confidence and our team got frustrated and lost its way and couldn't break through. So that's sort of my assessment.
Seems about right, no?
Yeah, I think so.
What else did you get out of that comment?
The biggest thing I took away was the line about lulling themselves to sleep. Have you ever heard of a coach refer to a team doing that to themselves before? And by the way, I don't think he's wrong. It's just an interesting note about the Leafs that they got to have the puck so much and they love to have the puck. And they just kind of had it around the perimeter. They got to have it.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to be easy.
I did find that. I found that rather weird. It's like we were doing some great things, but those great things led to this bad thing happening. And it's like, okay, so avoid the great thing so you can avoid the bad thing?
Yeah,
like,
no, you're right.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it speaks directly to the mindset of the team.
and
It's a microcosm of them,
well,
Yes.
right?
this
It's
is-
It's
within
gonna
the
be
game.
easy, so
see, I mean, it kind of, his comment there is something that you could just look at if you're a writer in the press box and just say after that shift it got bad. But I look at Sheldon and I go, okay, it's one thing to talk about it in a post game and then look back, from your view of the whole game and say, that was a bit of a turning point. It seemed like we were in control and then we lost control.
because we were in control.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care why, because
Okay.
the most important thing is that it just stopped. So my question to Sheldon at that point is, after the game, is when did you realize that you were being lulled to sleep? And what did you do about it? Did you only identify that you got lulled to sleep after the game? Or did you know during the game? And if you did, what did you do about it? Because I've been around a lot of bench bosses where, they've got a number of choices. One is to call a timeout.
Imagine that, calling a timeout though, because you're in control.
Number two is just to start laying into some guys.
Yeah.
Number three is to bench some people. But your job at that moment that know that you're starting to get lulled asleep is to stop it.
Yeah.
And to be in a position now as a head coach to identify it then, not in a post-game comment, but in that moment. That's what makes good bench bosses, is that you know what's going on and what you can do to change things up, to change that rhythm, to change that lack of momentum that you've obviously lost. I just saw a bunch of changes in the third period. I noticed the biggest one of all was Kerfoot up with Matthews and Marner. But shouldn't we have seen some major shuffles or decisions, or give the team a chance to change things up in that first period and not wait to the third?
Do you think there's some fear on his part of using all his bullets early or wasting them against Arizona? You already came out after Montreal and said, unacceptable, not good enough, yada, yada. You've seen Bunting pulled off that top line previously. Now you're in game 4 against Arizona. You have the puck the whole time. Do you want to pull out another bullet and say...
But he did.
In the postgame?
Oh, yeah.
Think so? The bullet?
Oh, no, the biggest biggest bullet of them all is coming on his next Kyper's Clipper on elite players. This is a major bullet. Have a listen.
I mean, each game has its, there's the Montreal game, which was just a debacle in how we played and had no real rhyme or reason or purpose to our game. I thought we played 2 pretty good games in, Washington and Ottawa. And here tonight, like I said, this game is its own animal as well. That first period that you're playing there, it's such a different game than anything. Even in preseason, you don't play games like that where you have the puck that much. We didn't adapt. We didn't score special teams. So is there an area to improve? I know there's a lot of areas to improve. You're only 4 games in. The guys haven't found the rhythm. Our best people have not found the rhythm. So maybe really look at it. The difference between us and Arizona is that we have elite players. And our elite players didn't play like elite players today. Couldn't make a difference. So in that sense, the game is going to be close. It's just, that's the way it goes when those guys don't make the difference that they can.
Did he just not say that we lost because of our elite players.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bullet that I wouldn't have used four games in.
You know, he's going
His
to.
gun is, he's got a loaded gun right now. He's firing off bullets early in this season.
Yeah, till your chambers are empty. It's, you know, he has to address that in the dressing room, right? Like he would have to say, you know, I mentioned into the media that our best guys weren't our best guys. You weren't. I think you all would agree that, right? He has to address it. He can't just like fire strays from the presser, then come in the room and act like he didn't.
Here's where, if I'm an elite player and we know who they are, right?
Yes.
I watch that game and I go, if it's just us, I can be a man about it. But when I watch Justin Hall have all the time in the world and cannot get a puck out, then it's just not elite players. It's not.
It's not just.
And
I agree.
They scored 2 goals in the game, and who scored the goals?
Right. It's Willie and Mitch.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just, it's more. There's more to
But
just
you're above that,
elite
right?
players.
You make all the money. You're the top guy. You play the most minutes. You're not expected to be the same as Justin Hall. You're held to a different standard than those guys. I don't for a second think they heard Sheldon say that, and then they went, well, he's got a point. He's right there. Like, I'm sure they're like, F this guy, you know, keep that to yourself. Talk to us directly. Don't need to do it in the media. I'm sure they think all that. But I just can't get past the fact that he's not wrong. So is he not allowed to tell the truth about where things are at?
I look at, if we're going to look at the elite players, I think it was the last show I said, Tavares, I thought it's off to a decent start, a good start.
Agreed. Yeah.
Nylander's Nylander.
He's actually,
not,
by Nylander standard, good start.
Marner had maybe one bad game.
Yeah, he's just been quiet, but he's been.
No,
whatever.
I think he's been okay.
Yeah,
I
but
think
that's-
Marner's, I think he's actually been looking like Mitch Marner. He's set up a lot of guys.
You know, we did our top 10 players in the NHL for Sportsnet, and like I had Mitch on my list. He doesn't look like that.
The only one that to me is way off right now is Austin Matthews.
He definitely looks off. And by the way, I know the analytics people right now, if any of them listen to our show, they're going, oh, well, actually, when he's on the ice, you know, like 68% of shots are going the Leafs' way, and he's had 21 attempts and all the numbers and stuff. You got to watch these games. You watch the games, he's not been himself. He hasn't controlled the play. He hasn't got inside.
1 goal in 4 games, and
it's
it was a
that he
redirect.
barely touched.
Like a redirect?
Yeah, it was a redirect. He did touch it. Yes.
If you told me that he'll go the rest of the season never going through a stretch of just scoring 1 goal in 4 games, I'd probably believe you.
Well, there was a lot of talk about he did 50 and 50 last year. Could he open up this year at 50 and 50? He still could. He's Austin Matthews. Might score 4 on Thursday.
But there's something about him that just does not look anywhere near where we've been accustomed to seeing him.
This to me is the engagement level that comes with, I don't want to say not taking the regular season seriously, but not prioritizing these games. I really think everyone was told regular season doesn't matter. Show us in playoffs. You look at the schedule. You have 3 of the 4 worst teams in the league from last year. You think you're going to get handed 5-6 points to start the year easily.
I would think he'd come in and go, I'm up in my 60.
You think so?
Everybody's talking about he is the best goal scorer in the league. There has to be a little bit of pressure there. How many Rockets Rocket trophies?
Yeah.
Does Ovi have? 8, 9?
Yeah.
I mean, Matthews is the next.
And he still is, you know, like last year, I don't know what he had 1 goal through however many games.
That doesn't kind of play into, I'm going to take a
sleepwalk.
I'm going to sleepwalk through the season.
I don't think he's like consciously not trying, but I just think that these guys
I don't think it's the trying thing. It's just he doesn't seem as engaged. And I don't know whether he made a conscious effort to be a little bit more physical. Has that thrown off anything at all on him?
Here's what it comes down to. if this team, this core, thinks it's going to be easy, they don't give their best effort. And not, again, it's not like a they're not trying thing. It's that they don't do the above and beyonds, fighting through to get to the inside, battling at the paint, being on top of the crease. There's another gear. Sammy mentioned the most frustrating thing to him last night was how good they looked when the game was about to end. When they needed 3 goals, three goals, all of a sudden they're like...
first goal goes in, they just are unstoppable.
Right.
It's, well, where's that been?
Right. Because
50
unless
minutes?
they have to hit that nitrous, they don't want to use it. They want to save it, and I don't blame them necessarily, but it's a trend with this team, and it's part of the reason they
So where
end
does
up
that come from?
playing Tampa Bay.
Is that coaching? Is that
Entitlement of
mentality?
the young players who have been the players they've
handed
been
everything without anything.
I would like to see Sheldon hold individuals a little bit more accountable.
You called out the elite players. You want to by name or just
in game.
Yeah.
Better, more in game. And at times he's pulls bunting off. You know,
Bunce has got an uphill fight this year. They've
it's been well established right now.
like preseason
And
salary suppression. Way to go,
you
team.
watch the first couple of games, I would have been tempted to sit Bunting out last night and put in Nick Robertson. To me, that would have been a good message.
Love that. Malgi gets to stay in.
Well, if you want to protect Mulligan, Mulligan would have been the easy pick.
Yeah.
But I got a sense from listening to Sheldon the last couple of days that Mulligan's in because maybe Kyle wants him in more than anything else, just to kind of protect him, protect his training camp, protect his confidence.
This is the thing. When he goes quiet, when he's not producing offensively, what are you going to get from him? And so far, it's been nothing. You know? So we're going to get changes on Thursday, presumably. You don't lose to the Coyotes, then leave.
He said as much.
He
after
did?
the game. Yeah, there will be changes for Thursday.
So you'll see Victor Mete. You'll see Nick Robertson. I don't know if you'll see Wayne Simmons, but Abe Kubel played 6 minutes last night. So I don't know. You want to put someone in? I think he could sit in the press box for a night. Could be all 3 of them. What do you think?
Victor Mete should be in the lineup for no other reason than they don't have anybody else. But at least he'll add some speed to that blue line, which looks awfully slow to me.
Yeah. What did you make of the unfortunate event there with Muzzin?
It is what it is. Muzzin now there's so much wear and tear on him that this changes the dynamic of what they're thinking moving forward. It has to.
Mm-hmm. I do worry about the man himself. Like, once you get to that point, we talked about Ryan Clough in the show. I don't know if we talked about Andre Kasha getting hurt in Carolina in his first game, concussion. Yeah, we did. So, is it going to get there with Muzzin where he can't take any sort of awkward contact?
Well, we did hear from Mitch Marner after the game talking about Jake Muzzin, and I certainly wouldn't have expected a comment like this. It is a huge reflection comment from Mitch Marner on Jake Muzzin that really gives us a sense of big picture here about his future. Let's have a listen.
I didn't see it either. I didn't get to watch a replay of it. I haven't seen him yet, but I mean, like I've been saying a lot, that's probably my best friend on this team. That's not even, it's outside of hockey. It's way bigger. He's got 2 unbelievable daughters, unbelievable wife, and you just wish the very best for him. It's, you have so much to live for in this life with your family and stuff like that. So hopefully everything's okay with them. And we're very blessed to have an unbelievable medical staff here that takes care of their players very well and knows what to do. So I'll try and check in with him here soon. Obviously, he's one of my best friends, brothers really, and so hopefully he's okay.
Did Mitch just retire Jake Muzzin?
I know, right?
Did he tell him start thinking about big picture and don't worry about us?
I don't know if he did directly or not, but that was quite the heartfelt concern.
Just gathering from what he's talking about there. He's his best buddy. He talks about it all the time. He obviously knows the ins and outs of what he's gone through.
By the way, Austin's not his best buddy?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that's a pretty telling clip in terms of what he knows from the inside of what Muzzin's gone through in the past year.
And what's so hard for the team in terms of just from a hockey standpoint is if Muzzin is that much of a concern with his neck or head or whatever you want to call what just happened, you can't really replace him. You put him on LTIR, but he's going to come back at some point. So you can't go get someone to fill that spot necessarily. So from a hockey perspective, it's certainly a huge issue for the Leafs.
Yeah, I thought it was really telling in terms of what he's gone through in the last probably 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
This off and on and taking time off and coming back and like, boys, he ran into Clayton Keller.
It was not pretty.
Like Keller is like a little heavier than a bag of feathers.
Yeah. And it was one of those ones where, he's not expecting to get hit, but I don't know, is something up with his perception that he's not sensing or looking or whatever? Because that was the deal with Kasha here, right? We were like, he keeps kind of finding these bad spots. And it's an unfortunate, unlucky moment, and there's probably nothing more to it. But certainly I share your concern over where it's going with Muzzin and the Leafs.
All right. I got a lot of thoughts on the hand pass.
Oh, yeah, we haven't even mentioned it.
We'll get there.
It was certainly a very heated topic after the game.
Yeah.
Do we have Sheldon on the hand pass?
We do.
Can we listen to him? Because I give him full credit, and I'll tell you after you listen to this.
I see a couple things. The puck clearly changes direction on its way down. So to me, the thing I don't think they were really looking at there's a debate of whether it hit Riley's stick on the way down. It hit the toe of his stick that helped the puck change its trajectory and did it hit Keller's skate? And is that enough for possession? I don't know. It's crazy that we're talking about such little things on these reviews. I mean, we just got to do a better job of not putting ourselves in that spot. We felt that call could have gone our way, or at the very least was not conclusive enough to overturn it. But that one didn't go our way here tonight.
Why do you give him credit?
I don't know if he said it in that particular one, but I caught him saying, if we leave ourselves in a spot to depend on that, then, that's more on us.
To me, though.
Honest to God, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm glad that it went against the Leafs. But it would have been the bigger lesson to learn is that when you don't play well, you don't deserve any points. If the Leafs somehow managed a point or two out of that and they escaped, like that's the penalty for playing poorly or not being ready is losing.
It is. But you have joined, this is very unlike you, to join the masses in a take, which is completely ignoring the hand pass play. And, the Leafs could have played better and it shouldn't come down to that.
I'm with him that I don't like the call. And I am with Sheldon saying that I wouldn't have overturned it.
Right.
There was not enough evidence for me. I would have gone I would have gone with the ref's call.
Yep.
And I was very surprised that they turned around on it. Yeah. For a couple of reasons. One was I think Keller's stick was right up against
Riley's glove. Yeah.
I don't know for sure what touched what.
For sure, I agree. And I agree with by the way, the sentiment that they shouldn't be in that spot and so it shouldn't matter. Agree. Sammy, I think you said something to the effect of it'd be worse to learn the lesson that they can just turn it on and win. That's a worse outcome if they win.
But I've also say on the other side of this, you can be like, oh, they're going to learn lessons. But we've had that same conversation for 4 years about them learning lessons.
Had enough lessons.
They had enough lessons.
Sometimes you get points when you don't deserve it, and this took points out of their pocket. And I'm with you, Kyper, in watching that play. Marner is not passing that puck to... Riley is not passing that puck to Marner. It's not a hand pass to him.
I know.
He knocks it down.
to save the play.
To save the play, keeps it in.
Yes.
It hits Keller's skate. And so, yeah, you can quibble over, technically he batted it. Technically Marner got it next. But there's a scrum that ensues. That's not a hand pass to me. And so the point that the refs, they should have deferred to the ref on the ice. They didn't call it at the time.
Like, you're right. A definitive thing is when it's glove to a guy on your stick.
It's like, oh, here comes Mitchie. I'm going to bat it to him.
The puck's sitting there. And you've got 2 seconds, and it's a 50-50 puck.
Yeah. Like at that point, that voids the advantage.
It's really a shame that Keller didn't find a way just to touch it.
I know. Riley battled him too good.
Right?
If Riley were a worse player, the Leafs get that goal.
But the letter of the law, and the league felt like they had 5 or 6 different looks at it where they were confident that it was Riley's glove down, and then whether or not, even if Keller got a piece of it or not, it's not if it touches a skate or touches a stick.
Possession.
It is possession and control.
I think you could sit there, and I totally get the call. I don't think it was like a terrible call. And you could, Sheldon made the point that it's silly that we're talking about these videos piece by piece, because you can piece it together where, Riley's glove last, and then Marner, sure.
I've watched it 100 times.
Yeah.
I've watched it so many times, trying to see both sides of it, trying to see both perspectives. And I can't help but think the Leafs got jobbed pretty bad.
Yeah, I think it should have counted. And then, it's the Leafs, you go to OT against Arizona. You like their firepower a bit more.
What's the number one thing that you always say when you're overturning stuff in all sports? Is definitive.
Yeah.
Definitive. And if they had called it on the ice, and I understand that it would play be dead. I understand that it's a different kind of thing than like the puck going over the line. Mm-hmm. I understand that. But to me, to overturn a goal, it's just not nearly definitive enough. It's just too much of a schmozzle. Like, it's just all together. It's a weird play.
Is this what the league wants?
Yes.
Pulling goals out, in the dying minute of a close game over that? I don't know.
Even the thought that you now, it's only... The league can only step in a minute left in the game.
So if that were at 101, they couldn't have? Or no, that could be challenged now, the hand pass.
Oh, no. As long as you have a timeout, you can challenge it at any time. But it's only with a minute to go that the league can step in and look at it and play the role of the coaches, which suggests to me that you value that last minute than you do the other 59 minutes. And last time I checked, you could lose a game in the first minute, you could lose a game in the last minute.
Yeah, that's true. No, that is an interesting point. So, they don't get that bounce. Leafs are 2-2.
If we're going to do that in the last minute, let's just ref from the press box.
Give me Ken Reed on this. Just scrap it. Scrap that one. You know what? It does go back to, was it Tomas Hertl in playoffs? It was the Sharks hand pass somewhere along the line. Anyway, you miss one call, and then the butterfly effect to here is a long road anyway. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you got to go.
I was going to say, so for predictable outcomes, was not predictable outcome necessarily, but Sammy did call the game. He saw Arizona, I think, doing well. Do we have the clip of Sammy calling something specifically happening last night?
This is where Sammy's getting so big now. He's actually like Grapes calling for his own.
Clipping his own clips?
Yeah,
I called for
clips.
it, in fairness.
All right, let's hear Sammy.
A Nick Ritchie goal pays plus 260 on certain books. That's free money.
He's scoring tonight.
Oh,
I'd take that.
Oh, my.
Rich was great.
Rich is great.
Rich is shooting one in the net tonight. That is a lock. I've been watching this team for too long to know.
And even had Kipper agree.
What's he got? Since he's been back there, he's got like 13, 14 goals. In like 30 games.
Oh, yeah. No, he's on pace for, since he's been there, he's a 30-goal guy in Arizona. He's a star.
Okay, that's crazy.
If it weren't the Leafs, it certainly would be. But it's the Leafs.
It's not crazy at all. It's going from the most high-pressure market for a guy that has had issues with disappearing from time to time, we can say, and then going to a market where there's legitimately no pressure and you're playing on the worst team in the league and you just get to go and play hockey and not worry about playing in Toronto and he shoots pucks in the net. I don't think it's that surprising at all.
Okay, now let me read off Sammy's stats, unless you had something.
No,
you wanted.
I was just gonna you read stats. I was just gonna comment on the other thing that kind of pissed me off last night is that I thought it was just officiated like horribly that game.
How so? Tell me you thought the Yarncroc call sucked.
Well, guys got to hold
No,
on.
I that to me is
To me, you're allowed to hit a guy's
but,
stick.
but there's certain areas where you do tend to relax a little bit, and I think the defender at the time was looking behind the net. So I mean, he doesn't see Yarncroc coming. He doesn't see him take a whack at his stick.
They're not like in a
and
battle
there
or
are
something.
moments in the game where you do relax, and one little tap at the right time, and I can lose my stick.
To me, that's a guy battling to get net position.
It is, but the focus was the puck behind the net, not the battle in front.
I get your point. Totally. Like
Okay.
if the two of them see the puck and they're going into the battle,
Correct.
you can
Yeah,
chop a guy's stick out of his hands or whatever. But
exactly. I'll get some
yeah.
glue for you next time, pal.
Right. And Yarncroc did say right away, he was like, hold on to your darn hockey
But
stick.
I'm watching Nick Ritchie hit Bunting, and I'm like, that was just a horrible call. His penalty. And then I think there was a battle in the corner with Matthews and
the cross check.
the cross check.
Soft call.
Can we just please hit? Can we just leave them alone and hit a little bit? Those were horrible calls. And I thought Justin Hall got away with a high stick in front of the net where I don't know if it was Keller or maybe Fisher got cut.
Yeah.
Which could have easily been a 4-minute penalty.
God, we're
Drawn
saying
blood.
Justin Hall's name a lot this year, aren't
But-
we? He's involved in good,
like,
bad, and ugly.
But the battles, the physical battles, God, it was a tough night watching the officials last night.
Particularly with a game that didn't have much of a pulse. Like, it's okay to let the guys, kick it up here. a
Saw
little
Zach take a pretty good run at Marner last night too, and that's just one of those
Cassian?
moments.
bit.
Cassian, yeah. Zach Cassian took a real healthy run at Marner, and that's the part where you go, oh, okay, can we at least have Wayne Simmons on the bench to go talk to him? I'm not saying he has to fight him, but can somebody say something to Zach Cassian, please? Because all you do is you just set the rest of the teams that watch that up. That's all.
Yeah. You've seen Marner run at and Matthews.
Okay.
You just mentioned the penalties and all the power play worrying you again, Kip?
Oh, yeah.
Huge concern. Absolutely huge concern. And I don't see Austin shooting the puck on the power play.
Get him off
And
that front.
I
Get him on
see
the other one.
I see a lot of people looking for him. And this is not snuck up. It hasn't snuck up on them. This has been a continuation of what we saw at the end of the season. So we saw them fire their goalie coach, but whoever's running the power play, I'm not saying you need to fire him, but maybe like a conversation with him.
Well, they just took it away from Malhotra and gave it to Carberry last year and kind of had the same thing happen at the end of the year.
It's not a good look.
Well, what's tough, Kipper, is you have to play the 5 guys who are on the first unit as the 5 guys. Do you not? Like, you can't have Nylander or Tavares or Matthews or whoever on the bench. You can't. So they know they're getting the ice time. Sammy, you're joking before the show that, like, they're just greedy. just pigs. Just, go take your minute 42. If nothing happens, you'll go out for
Now
the
the second unit comes out with just 10 seconds left in the power play.
Yeah, again,
There's just no sense
if
of
it's
urgency.
not working or it's not going, make an example of somebody.
Yeah. So I know there's also people who are going to listen to this 40 minutes and say, last year the Leafs started 2-4-1 and they had 115 points and it's not a big deal and they're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And the players haven't, and all fair points. I still think the Leafs are a 110 point plus team this season. I do. Do you think that this matters though, that they've started like this?
I don't like it 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
I don't. But
I just don't like pretending it doesn't matter.
I'm with you that they will find themselves. They're too good. If we can recall Mitch Marner last year, I don't know, 1 goal or 1 assist in like his first 7 or 8 games. he was off to a very slow start and almost cracked 100 points.
Yeah.
Plus, I think he missed 10 games because he was hurt.
Yeah.
And still managed to get almost 100 points. So Marner will be fine. He'll get his points. Matthews will get his goals. But I just think that that Sheldon's got to do a better job of preparing these guys here. And there's a responsibility as a coach. And you can blame your elite players. You can blame an injury here. But when I see Marty St. Louis fire up a bunch of underachievers in the first game and get them to raise their bar, it's going to fall on Sheldon here to get these guys going and light a fire under them. And I hope that we see them shot out of a cannon Thursday night against Dallas.
Yeah. Dallas, by the way, on fuego.
Yeah, well, they're playing well. That's probably the type of team the Leafs will play good against.
True.
There you go.
But yeah, I think it's fair to be perturbed by the way this team started. And I think there's a lot of people that are saying, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. They'll figure it out, which they probably will, like you guys said. But it's fair to worry to me.
It's not the first we've seen of the same issues. That's all.
Bunkus and I were talking about it on the postgame show last night. It's, everything you'd worry about. Check. Playing down to opponents. Shalgren and net in game 4. Former Leafs scoring against them on the worst team in the league. Losing the worst teams.
Who you thought they were. Leafs started 3 different goalies through their first 4 games of a season for the first time since 1990-91. Peter Ing, Jeff Reese, Alan Bester. Leafs began that season 1-9-1, and head coach Doug Carpenter was fired.
There you go.
I don't know, a little tidbit from Sammy.
Thanks for reading that.
You're welcome.
They made the playoffs that year, didn't they?
I don't know. Did they?
You don't. That's the most important stat we need out of that year.
All we need is they started bad.
I don't think they made the playoffs that year.
Gordo might know.
All right. Good tee up, Sammy. Stellictricity up after the break. Gord Stellick, Leaf Nation pre and post. We'll get his thoughts and more. You're listening and watching on YouTube. Real Kyper and Bourne.
From the City News.
Wheel, Kipper, and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
All right, our next guest is so loyal to the Real Kyper and Bourne show. He once was willing to do it while someone was churning butter at Pioneer Village. Let's bring in Gord Stellick.
Kippy, Justin, how you guys doing? How you
We're
guys?
good.
I told you I listened to you yesterday as I took my mom for a scheduled cardiologist appointment, which when someone's 92 and a half just means you're still alive. Okay, good. Come back next October 5th, which, by the way, I've told my siblings I'm already busy. But anyway, no churning butter. But I loved what you guys were churning with Sammy off the top yesterday. Just bang on. Good to be talking Leaf hockey.
Well, first of all, did you drive her? Because then you were late for your appointment, right?
No, Kippy. Bad rap about me watching the speed limit when I drove you on the Don Valley Parkway as a favor because your car had a flat tire and I went out of my way.
Yes.
And I leave miles early. I am early for everything. So I pride myself in not being late.
Well, we pride on you giving us an honest assessment of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And, you talk to some people and it's panic and it's others that say, okay, 2-2. Where are you on the side of what you've seen so far?
Well, it's funny. First of all, as you went to break, I know that's people under 40 won't remember, but that 1990 season to show how far south can go. I mean, no one ever thought Doug Carpenter would get fired. They had to do it, and that was the one where they'd given their traded the first round pick for Tom Kerbers to the Devils, and they were worried that Eric Lindros, if they came dead last, that would be the guy. Well, it ended up being Scott Niedermayer that the Devils picked third overall, so that wasn't a bad trade for the Devils then. But I'll tell you right now. And Justin, you were mentioning it that, okay, the last 2 years, it would actually be 3 of the last 4 because 2 years before that, they had to make the coaching change, right? So they've had these uneven or poor starts, and that's just a bad habit. I want this year to be like the Raptors championship season. Okay, there's no intrigue of a Kawhi Leonard. There's Kelly Yarncroke, okay? He's not Kawhi. But the kind of thing like the Raptors did that regular season when they just had a real, even, nice, clean regular season, which seemed to set them up in a better place for the playoffs and maybe do the same for the Maple Leafs.
That would be nice. Watching Sheldon Keefe try to motivate this team reminds me of someone walking like one of those French bulldog or one of those big English bulldogs that just sit there and they can't pull them along. Like, it's impossible. No matter what you say, it doesn't seem like you can get them going until they want to go. What tools does he have left in his toolkit to get this team to go?
And Justin, another thing is that, just part of it, think of the buzz. Say Matthews and Marner's second season, right? And say when Tavares came, like the buzz, the energy, the start of the season, and they kicked ass like for a couple of years, like the first 15 games, and it was just kind of that wow feeling, and they don't have that, and that's kind of disappointing because great teams have an aura for as many of the 82 games as possible. It's funny, and Sheldon, he talked about the best players haven't been the best players. Is he talking about Austin Matthews mostly? Like, I thought John Tavares has played pretty well. Nylander and Marner have contributed, but I again, like, they kept bringing different got to bring Joe Thornton in because we want his veteran leadership. Got to bring Wayne Simmons in because we want his
right.
What got to bring John Tavares, make him captain. Like, what are the guys from within? Not motivating themselves, like enough internal leadership that you don't have. So many ebbs and flows like they've had the last couple of seasons. It's got to, I heard Kippy talk about, he's got to, whether it's make them more accountable, be harder on them. I don't, like Marty St. Louis, there's still, actually, you're right. He's not a novelty anymore. He did a half season. So I know what you mean about, some coach that you can see getting results where Sheldon Keefe's best results are when he took over for Mike Babcock. I mean, that team stayed out of the abyss, but we're talking about they're not supposed to stay out of the abyss. They're supposed to win playoff rounds and maybe a Stanley Cup. Right. And boy, they've gone out so feebly against Montreal and Columbus. And I keep bringing it up because it's worth bringing up about the most important time of year. Twice this team has gone out feebly, and that cannot happen.
I just want to stay on the Sheldon Keefe conversation, and I want to get both your thoughts and you too, JB, because you know him probably a little better than most working with him. But throughout the first 4 games, he's gone to the well after Montreal, and he went to the well last night with his elite players. Is this a guy that gets a sense of urgency right now out of what he needs to say because he knows his general manager didn't get an extension and everybody assumes that they're tied to the hip?
I do personally think that there is pressure earlier on Kyle and Sheldon because it really feels like now or never. And if it looks like it's never, if it looks like it's not going to happen this year, then yeah, you could see the end coming sooner than they would like it to. So, maybe if he had a 5-year contract, he'd be, less quick to call out the elite players or whatever in the post-game conversations. But I do think that does make the urgency, it ramps it up a little bit.
Gord, going after the elite players last night, my first thought was, hey, maybe a little play out of the Mike Babcock playbook.
Yeah, and again, he does it kind of going after them light, not the hardcore, but a little bit light. And hey, we're all human. And you ask, I'd say more than 50% of Leaf fans, hockey observers, if Shanahan, Dubas, and Keefe, if you're surprised all 3 kept their jobs, and over 50% would say yeah. And I'm not saying all 3 should be go. I'm not saying Sheldon Keefe's the one that should go. It's kind of a little bit of a unique situation with all the changes that happened, that this kind of it seemed to be accepted that even, wow, you competed this time. And again, the handshake line is a killer, right? Wow, that's what passes the litmus test right now. So I think to the point about, yeah, there's a pressure anyway coaching the Toronto Maple Leafs, but it's understood. It really has to be now or never this time. And he's probably tried a lot of different things, and kind of what else can you do? All you can do is fail on the negative side and lose your job. So you might as well go down trying your best and making the moves or saying the things that you think can make a difference. And yeah, I like this team. I believe, whatever point number you were saying, Justin, I'm in 110, whatever it may be. I mean, this is a team that should have a solid regular season, and hopefully if they get by one playoff round, I picked them to win the Stanley Cup. Okay. I've never done that before. People think I got a feeling. Okay. I mean, that's way down the road. My part of my feeling was predicated on not having an anemic, Monday night game against Arizona. It's bad enough if you're there. When you picked season's tickets, that's number 41, right? Monday night in October, you got stuck with it. Imagine your birthday and you got Leaf tickets and you open it. You're kidding. Arizona on a Monday. You're thinking Colorado's coming or Boston's coming.
That's how the players felt when they saw the schedule.
When I was a little kid, I had tickets to the Kansas City Scouts. How do you think I felt?
Exactly.
That's funny.
Exactly.
So, it was Monday night. It was the Coyotes. You were supposed to skill yourself to a win. It was just supposed to be handed to you. And with that, the Leafs decided to put Erik Källgren in net. Any takeaways from starting Källgren and how he performed in his first night of the season?
Well, again, you want the guys to be a difference in winning a game or not. So you don't blame the game on him. He's and again, when I heard you guys talking about it, that you thought this was the game they're going to pile up all kinds of stats, and maybe Dennis Mulligan would get going and all these. And
yep.
Justin, Arizona is a funny team. What for the Leafs? And again, it goes back to maybe these games are just dead because the schedule seems to be the same every year. That there's a template that doesn't change a lot. And Arizona always seems to come here in October. I remember Max Domi getting, I think, his first career goal. I mean, Vejmelka, I know, was in Arizona, but I don't know, whatever it is. It seems like the Leafs play their worst hockey against Arizona, and Arizona's had a lot of luck there. Anyway, Källgren, I'd like to see a goaltender being the guy because he's Jeremy Swayman in Boston or Spencer Knight in Florida. You're bringing someone up because, okay, he's the next guy up. It's not like he wowed anybody in the American Hockey League. And, maybe like Jack Campbell, he'll get a chance to, well, hopefully not as a number one, but to be a pleasant surprise and play well. So, yeah, I mean, it's still inconclusive. There's no wow factor about him. There's a wow factor about the lack of depth with Maple Leaf goaltending, particularly when, you got Matt Murray. I mean, I'm sorry, you guys said it yesterday, Peter Mrazek. We're talking, you're 1 or 2 games into a season where you have 80 games of the guy being a question mark because of health, and all of a sudden now you got Walls injured, and Källgren had got run before in the game, but in the American Hockey League. But man, oh man, you don't develop an NHL goaltender from within. a constant topic you guys talk about and I talk about. It just comes up to bite you in the ass.
We're talking to Gord Stellick, former Leaf general manager and current voice of Leaf Nation pre and post game. What do you see out of Matthews' first 4 games? The thing that stands out to me is Matthews taking a healthy run this season at somebody, and then the fans chanting MVP, MVP, MVP. And my first thought is, no. MVP, MVP when he puts the puck in the net.
Well, that's how, see, they talk about how tough Toronto is to play in. It's not. It's tough because you get recognized a lot. That's exhausting, okay? So that, but the part is when you do something, everyone goes over, like, if they win one playoff round, all like Kyle Dubas will get a 15-year contract. Everyone will be super excited. And Legends, hey, can Austin Matthews get 70 goals this year? What do you want out of the guy? Like, you know what he wants? I want him to get the Conn Smythe Trophy. Let's get a Leaf player, get the Conn Smythe Trophy. I'm sure they all want to do that because that means you went deep in the playoffs, obviously. So, yeah, Austin Matthews, it's been a pedestrian first few games for him. He's a guy that is worth the price of admission alone when he plays his normal game, which he does about well over 90% of the time. But just like, God, never mind the MVP, never mind the 70 goals. Let's like Steve Yzerman or Brett Hull when they figured out a way. And hey, no, I'm not putting it on Austin. He is, but just ways that make you a better team as a team in the playoffs.
So it's not anyone's job to be a cheerleader for the Leafs when they're struggling. So, I apologize for asking you about more players struggling here, but I don't want to come off negative, but it's been bleak. So I wanted to ask you about Rasmus Sandin. This is a guy who signs a 2-year contract. He's expected to take the next step, top 4 guy, someone they're excited about. I don't know, to my eye, hasn't looked awesome. What are your thoughts about Leafs D and where Sandin has fit in so far?
Yeah, and I know, Justin, like you guys have had the chat as well, that when Matthews and Marner came, right, and you had Connor Brown, I know Zach Hyman came via trade, but still was developed within, Kasperi Kapanen, Andreas Janssen, like a lot of players developed from within on your team. You see Dallas had 10 of them last night. Detroit now, Yzerman's putting it together. 10 players they drafted. Leafs only had 5 last night, and one of them's Rasmus Sandin, right? Travis Dermott's gone. Sean Durzi went in a trade to L.A., and so you really want these guys to hit. And yeah, no, he hasn't. No, and I kind of liked him last year. I was kind of surprised. His physicality's been a pleasant surprise, but his play has been spotty so far. And you're really looking for those kind of guys to get it to the next level. And again, we keep qualifying. It's early, but again, you want these guys to get to the next level. We're not saying this after 25 games, hopefully.
Right. Gord, on the topic of the blue line, another tough look for Jake Muzzin leaving the game. Were you able to listen or read Mitch Marner's comments and big picture reflection comments about his wife, the kids, his future? Where do the Leafs go on this? Well,
you guys played, okay, and just like and anyone listening out there, it's whatever you do. If you get hurt, you're hurt. It's tough. You don't just all of a sudden, 2 years later, if you're playing tennis or you're playing whatever sport and you go, yeah, I'm not the same. Well, yeah, you had a kind of a meniscus injury or something like that, and you're not the same. And Kippy, didn't we, like, Jake's already articulated that himself. Like, just the talk seems to be out there about, all the injuries he's gone through. And yeah, geez, I want to make sure that, quality of life. I mean, we saw it with David Clarkson, for example. I'm not saying that's anywhere where Jake Muzzin is right now about career ending, but they just accumulate. And this discussion's happened before. And I imagine Mitch Marner's picking up on that obviously, Jake Muzzin's had a concern that this is just too much. And I'm worried about my general welfare outside of hockey and post-hockey career. Now, I have no idea how this particular injury, if that comes in impacts in that way, shape, or form or not. But, we've seen this play too often, unfortunately, starting with a guy being taken off on a stretcher against Columbus and then in the playoffs. And it just seems there's just been a multitude of injuries, unfortunately, since then.
If I'll throw this out to both of you guys, if there's still question marks on is the Leafs blue line good enough with a healthy Muzzin, what is it without him?
Not good enough. Honestly, I mean, it's a major concern. You're right. I still think with him, they may be looking around. Without him, they almost definitely have to make an acquisition. Wouldn't you think, Gord?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's really what differentiated whether, if Mark Hunter were to have got the job, rather than Kyle. The understanding was, he wanted to put some emphasis on money for the D. And this isn't a shot at Kyle. I'm just saying that's been the template from the word go. Muzzin was a nice trade when it was made. TJ Brody's been a real nice pickup as a free agent, but your resources are top heavy as far as forwards go, and not every team does that. I mean, Tampa Bay has their Victor Hedman, and generally somebody Ekblad in Florida. Generally, teams have a stud and a little bit more depth. But yeah, I totally agree with Justin. Like you're in a lot of trouble. So you gotta hope. Like, I mean, Lyubushkin was good enough to get you through the season, and really all you can look at is good enough. You're not doubtfully you're going to be able to steal someone that's going to be an elite defenseman, but you're going to have to look at those kind of moves, and then hopefully in the playoffs, your goaltender gets hot. That makes everybody good enough for starters, and you go on from there.
So, Gord, everyone tells us it's not time to panic. They're 2-2. It's early. We've talked about everything we have said today has been. It's early, small sample, it's early. When is it not? Like at 5-5, are we panicking? Is it 15-15? Like when can we start to say, okay, they have real problems here. Maybe the team needs to do something.
Okay, can't remember what game number it was, but you can't let it get to where the Chicago game was last year. And certainly we saw the year they had to make the move on Mike Babcock, that it got way too deep, right? And really, that impacted the whole years in many ways. Even though COVID impacted it bigger later on, like you just had this uneven season and didn't get off to the good start. So that you said that 90-91 team was 1-9-1. Okay, I guess they can't be 1-9-1, but say about a dozen games. I mean, right now you look at the Minnesota and Vancouver. I know it's not a lot of games, and I know it's early, but you fall behind the 8 ball, you're in a whole lot of trouble. Lose 3 games at about the 30 game mark. Don't lose your first 3 games of the season. And so I'm still buying. It is still early, but we've seen in 2 of the last 3 seasons, early went way too long for our liking.
Vancouver last year. What did
Yes.
they win? 7 games out of their first 25 or 30. They buried themselves.
And we're great.
And we're great in the back half, and still missed a playoff spot by 5 points?
Yeah, it's a golf tournament. You can't you can't win the tournament on Thursday, but you can lose it. I feel that way about the start of the season. You can't win the cup, can't make the playoffs, but you sure can miss them.
Kippy,
we're
it's
a ways from that, though.
Yeah, Kippy, it's like you and I at George Vanier Secondary School. Like you'd see the marks posted from the first exam, right? And we'd be on the bottom, and it was tough, right? How do you get back? So we just stayed on the bottom.
Yeah, good solution.
You're bringing back great memories, Gord. Didn't you run with Mike Myers there, or
no? He was at
Jim
a different
Carrey?
school. Different school.
Okay,
They
Jim
had,
Carrey.
No, Jim Carrey's a different school. We had,
Who'd we
I
have?
think Geddy Lee was there from Rush. I think Howie Mandel was there at one point.
Howie Mandel, I'm thinking.
Alana Miles was there. Her name was Alana Biles.
And Gord Stellick
That's
was
not
there.
True.
Honest to God.
No way.
Yeah, and she changed her name to. She was at a reunion once. Yeah,
Alana Miles' real name is Alana Biles.
That's my understanding. Yes,
My mind
and
is
then
blown.
and the Hin brothers, and the one was it Benny became the big evangelist. I knew the older ones.
God,
Willie
you're
and Henry.
just a wealth of information.
If you went to Vanier way back when, yeah, I am.
Well, we'll let you get back to the Pioneer Village. What's next after churning butter?
Well, you know what? Because of Vanier memories, I'll go to the Peanut Plaza next time for my hit, okay? Right there by Woodbine Junior High in George Vanier.
Gord Stellick.
Oh, big production value. Wow.
High production value over here.
Huge.
Anyway,
Hey,
Derek.
Gord, thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate your time as always.
Okay, see you guys. Take care.
Thanks,
Gord
Gord.
Stellick, Leaf Nation pre and post game after every Leaf game.
That drop is
That
so
drop is
good.
elite.
He deserves it, though.
Oh, he's the man.
He's called us from everywhere.
Alana Miles.
Alana Biles.
That's what it says on Wikipedia.
Black Velvet.
Blackbird. It's a banger.
It is the
Great
jam.
song.
We did have a little bit of a conversation, didn't we? Last, which one? Love
Yeah.
is.
I don't know
Jam.
that one.
Was it last week we had a conversation on, I don't know, 3-8 or
Yeah, it was 2-8. We said if
2-8.
they win 2 of their first 10, what happens? Well, they'd have to go on a pretty significant skid to do that.
Let's lose 6 in a row
By the
now.
way, I don't think this is happening. It's just fun to hypothesize what would happen if. How bad could it get before they would panic? Because I think it sets an end goal of how close you are to that panic.
There's so many circumstances that have to be witnessed.
Oh, now it's, Muzzin's hurt and Murray's hurt, and that's why.
Well, including, are players listening to Sheldon anymore? Can he get them to respond? Is there a disconnect between the two? If we can see it and everybody can sense it, then almost, I'm not going to say that the record's irrelevant, but then it's like, 4-12 or 6-12 or 8-12 has to more of
chance.
The feeling that you get are injuries.
Yeah.
Compounded past.
What did Babs
Murray.
get fired at? Do we know what the record was when he got fired?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it past Murray and Muzzin in the next 2 or 3 weeks?
You know what?
Those are factors.
They are. But you know what I think is hard for Sheldon is he came in at a time when the superstars here in Toronto were still very young. And when you're young, you tend to look at a coach as someone to be resisted. I know it best. It's always worked doing it my way. And I think they probably established some of that with him. And so now you don't see the older guys doing that, Spezza or Thornton or whatever. They try to do their best to buy into what the coach wants them to do. But you do wonder if they haven't already kind of made up their mind on him. I mean, I'm not saying that's the case. It's just he came at a time when the players were still very young, and you wonder if that doesn't have some effect to how they feel about him.
So here is the details on Mike Babcock. He was fired.
He was trending yesterday, by the way.
Of course. The Maple Leafs, who were 9-10-4, he was fired at that. And they were,
all right.
And they were 0-5-1 in the past 6 games, including a 4-2 loss to Vegas Golden Knights. Remember that, where Marc-Andre Fleury made an unbelievable diving
Sheldon
save.
picked it up in Colorado after that.
And they lost 6-1 to the Pittsburgh Penguins the
I
night
know,
before.
but this is
9-10-4.
This is not apples to apples.
No,
it's not,
it's
because
a much different situation.
They're
Mike had just did.
I really believe in my heart Brendan Shanahan saw Babcock, needed Babcock right away, bring in some credibility while we go through this process. I think from day one, Brendan had a shelf life for Babcock. Babcock had a shelf life for himself. He set up his contract where the first $35-40 million were, I got them in my pocket in those first 3 years, 4 years. And if you get tired of me in the back end, then it's just minimal.
Think so, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I think it was just, I think it was set up deep down. By then, Kyle and Brendan had established a relationship, and Kyle only had eyes for Sheldon, man. 100%. That was always in the plans. This won't play out like that. We know that, right?
No, you're right. It's almost like Kyle's not going to fire Sheldon, I don't think. Like, I think.
Oh, he may have to.
Well, Shanahan may
force Kyle to fire Sheldon.
Yeah, I don't think
that's a reality.
That's a tough combo to have.
That's a tough reality. What's the old saying? Do I need to fire 2 people or 1?
You decide. Yeah. But like
1, Brendan. 1. Just 1.
That's a 1.
That's a 1 by me.
I'm good. But I think that. So I think 2 things about Mike Babcock. I think he's a very good coach. This Leafs team is finally where Babs wanted them to be. They have a 4th line that can skate and be physical. They have veteran leadership. They have elite skill. This is Babcock's team he was begging for when he came here.
So just, are you still under contract? Just go get him back.
Assistant?
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I wasn't, but it's not. It's a funny idea. But, you don't
have to spend a dime.
But I also think that Babcock saw himself coming to Toronto and being enshrined in gold on Legends Row when he's the savior and finally brings 100%. The cup here. And I
thought he was the biggest star.
There was any shelf life in his mind. I think he saw
he thought he was the biggest star in the team.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing. And that's probably wherein lied the issue.
Yeah. What's funny is, like, I still think, again, good coach. And I think a lot of that put people off was that sort of attitude that he felt he was whatever. Because, again, knew what he was talking about.
We got to go, but you think you'll ever have another? You think you'll ever get another shot in the NHL?
Yes. John Tortorella's still coaching.
I thought he may be the next candidate
Boudreaux's
for the World Junior route.
Yeah,
Where
Daryl
he
Sutter's
go coach the World Juniors and do like that sort of reclamation tour. Like, Sutters have done that. Pat Quinn did it and got another job.
The difference between all these guys we're talking about and Babs is Babs got 50 schmil in the bank.
Correct.
He ain't needed.
He's in a very nice lodge in the woods.
He's done.
I think he's done. Yeah.
Be an assistant coach for Rochester in the American League or something?
I don't know. I think he's just he's in a happy place right now. I'm not sure he's pushing that hard.
We should try to get him on the show.
You know what? We should. Anyway, we should go to break.
I think that's my job, by the way.
You got a Babcock impression?
Absolutely not.
Okay, let's just go to break. Eric Francis after the break. He's going to talk Calgary off to a great start. They play the undefeated Golden Knights tonight. Daryl Sutter hit the jackpot, didn't he, with a new contract? We'll see if we can sniff that one out as well with Eric. That and more after the break. Real Kyper and Bourne on the YouTube channel and Sportsnet 590, The Fan.
is Real Kipper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
We're going to take a little bit of a pause here. Let Sammy catch his breath on all the Leaf stuff. And JB's going to take a break, too. We're going to bring in Eric Francis, senior columnist with Sportsnet, to bring us, to remind us that there's more than one team in the league, including the Calgary Flames. Eric, how are you?
You know, when you say something like that out west, everyone thinks you're talking about the Oilers. But that's okay. That's okay. Thanks for giving us the time here in Calgary.
Well, listen, it was early in the Battle of Alberta, and you know, it's fun watching you get excited about this. I'll be honest with you. I love it. It feeds the beast, man. You know, the only thing outside of watching the game, I wouldn't mind you and Spector maybe getting into a steel cage. I pay for that too.
Oh my God, would I pay for that too? I'd be having all sorts of so many foreign objects in the ring. I'd split them open real quick.
Well, as far as splitting open's concerned, first shot to Calgary against the Oil. Was it everything you thought? Were you surprised at the early lead, the pull from Jack Campbell? What did you see that we can look forward to the rest of the season? Albeit they only meet maybe 2 more times.
Yeah, only 2 more times. They're both in Calgary, so that was our only visit to Edmonton. I guess for me that's the good news there. But anyway, I have to tell you, I never did think Jack Campbell was going to be the answer. I saw too many of his downswings in Toronto for me to believe that he was going to be the answer in Edmonton. I know it's a small sample size. It's one game. Markstrom has trouble in that little matchup too, and you can't judge him based on that. But to have him pulled 4 goals on 10 shots, guys. 10 minutes into the game, it was 4-1. We were on pace for a 30-goal game, and it wouldn't have, somehow it wouldn't have surprised me given all the craziness we've had over the last couple of years with the Battle of Alberta. So it lived up to the hype. Yeah, the last period was a little bit of clamp down, boring hockey, but that's what teams got to do to hold on to the lead. But lots of great storylines when those 2 teams meet, and this one didn't disappoint at all.
Well, looking at this Calgary team, everyone was so excited. Obviously, a lot of turnover, but excited about the new players. I know we're doing the whole small sample thing, 2 games, but early returns on Huberdeau and Kadri and Weegar. Any thoughts on those guys so far?
Huberdeau has been pedestrian at best. That top line has shown no chemistry whatsoever. I think their only points came on the power play, and they knew it was going to take time. And I think a lot of people have big questions about whether Toffoli's able to handle that job on the top line. I mean, you got big shoes to fill when you're replacing Matthew Tkachuk on a line that was, don't forget, that line was the best line in hockey last year and carried this team to the division championship in the regular season. They can't count on that at all this year. No semblance. If this is a top 20 or 30 line in the league, I'll be pretty, I think they'll be happy. So Weegar's been pretty good too, but not great. The coach, Daryl, he comes down on everybody. You could score 4 points and Daryl will rip India. Weegar, he said, well, he's pretty good with the puck, but he's not very good at checking. He has to learn our system. So there's your honest approach. And then the best player by far, not just of the 3, but on the team, has been Nazem Kadri. He's been everything as advertised. Yeah, it's 2 games in, but his line's been the best line. He creates energy, spark. He did a great job on Connor McDavid the other day. He's got a beautiful goal at a key point in that game. Nazem Kadri. I saw a tweet from you, Kipper, the other day about how perception of this guy's changed. And I was just having that conversation recently. When he left Toronto, I don't think anybody was talking about this guy one day getting a $49 million contract, being considered a real leader, being a clutch playoff performer. But that's his reputation now. And, maybe you think it's unwarranted. I don't know if you think it's unwarranted. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I liked your point on Twitter that the guy is totally transformed how people see him around the league.
Oh, no. I'm all in. And I got a chance to watch him in junior hockey. And the one thing about Naz that I think that the Leaf fans only got a small glimmer of is how offensively talented he is, and how he's got great finish, great hands. The problem here in Toronto is he felt like, when the Boston Bruins started pushing the Leafs around, he was the only one that could stand up to them. And certainly when he started focusing on putting the puck in the net, which is now, like, I never thought I'd say this, but, I always thought of him as maybe a 50 or 60 point guy. Like he is legit a point a game guy. And on a good year can crack 90 to 100 as he proved. And I think he knows that now, and I think the league knows that now. I think everything's warranted that I said about him.
Yeah, here's a proposition I threw out. I don't own a betting site, but if I did, here's the prop I throw out there. Of all the guys involved, of the three guys that the Flames picked up, Weegar, Huberdeau, Kadri, and then the two guys that the Flames lost, Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk, how many of those five could possibly get back to the point total they had last year? They all had career years. They all had crazy numbers. And I think the only guy that really has the best shot is Kadri. Weegar maybe because he's going to get a ton of ice time here, and Darryl loves him. But I, to your point, Kadri's the guy who could get back to 87 points again. That's not what they're paying him for. They're paying him for a whole lot less than that, or a whole lot of other things. But I agree with you. This guy, boy, he's impressed me on and off the ice.
Hey, how close would Calgary Flames fans be watching the Florida Panthers, and on every loss, how hard would they be cheering?
It's funny. I think people more so are going to be cheering every Columbus loss, which won't be hard because I think they're going to lose a ton of games. I don't think that people because Matthew Tkachuk left like 10 days after Johnny did, but in a completely different fashion. Like, people have a lot of respect for the way that Matthew Tkachuk left. He was up front, said, I'm going to leave in a year, so you might want to trade me now. And given the body blow that this franchise and this city and this fans took with Johnny Gaudreau at the 11th hour, he's looked at in a whole different light than Johnny Gaudreau. So I get your point. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody's really cheering for Matthew Tkachuk, but they're cheering for him a whole lot more than they are for Johnny Gaudreau.
Is it kind of like the Tavares thing? They're looking at Gaudreau like as he screwed them over type of thing?
Oh, yeah. The narrative is definitely one that people are very angry, very bitter. And it wasn't just because he left. That's a great question, Bourne, because I don't think he's here till January. I have to check that again. It's time heals all. Time heals all, right? Yeah. And I know that in that front office, and I'm not talking about Brad Treliving, but people I've talked to in that front office, like the way they felt after Johnny literally at the 11th hour changed course and said, sorry, guys, I'm not coming, after leading them to believe for sure that he was coming. I know there were people in the front office who were saying, you know what, we're not having a tribute video when he comes back. Forget that. The way he screwed this organization, forget it. Now, I've talked to some of those same people since, and they're now like, yeah, you know what? Okay, we were emotional. It was an emotional time.
Yeah,
he'll get his tribute video. He's one of the greatest Flames of all time. Scored one of the most iconic goals in this franchise's history. That one against Dallas in overtime. No, there'll be people standing, but there will be some people booing, Bourne, for sure. Some people don't forget. Most people will.
They will take the high road, and they should. For sure.
They should. I agree.
For sure. What do you see in the rest of the country? Toronto obviously struggling, so you Westerners are loving that. But also Vancouver struggling on protecting leads. We'll get into that maybe a little more. But overall, I mean, now I know it's only a few games in, a handful of games, but Calgary's got to be the odds-on favorite now to be Canada's team.
Well, it's early. I don't know. I predicted Toronto would be that team, at the beginning of the year in terms of points. Hey, the Calgary Flames, the Oilers, and the Leafs, I think, are all destined to be challenging for their divisions. Up near the division lead, I still think all year long. I really do.
You do. Even with their goaltending issue, losing Muzzin.
Yeah, hey, these are big issues. But Toronto's had goalie issues for a long, long time, and it always seems you have goalie issues there, and yet you still I still think that the skaters you have on that team are, that's as good a team as the East has. It's right up there in the top 3 or 4. And hey, Oilers last year had a really good year and went to the conference final with 2 goalies that, were highly questionable. And granted, they had better numbers than probably anybody ever thought they had. But, yes, goaltending is a big issue, and that's why I guess many people would look at the Flames and say, all things being equal, and the Flames being a pretty deep team anyway, add the fact that they have no questions in goal. Not only do they have a Vezina finalist, but this Dan Vladar, I'm going to tell you, when he becomes a UFA in 2 years, he's going to be a starting goalie in the National Hockey League without question. So they've got one of the better tandems in the league too. So yeah, I guess I won't dissuade you from thinking they could be Canada's team. They certainly could be, but I'm just not discounting Toronto just yet.
Yeah, there's some concern about Calgary giving up some goals again. Has their defense been that questionable?
They just played
good teams.
The 2 best teams in the West.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think the bigger question was going to be this year, could the Flames, score? I think goals are going to be at much more of a premium for the Calgary Flames this year. Last year they finished 6th in goal scoring. I bet you this year they're more around 12 or 13, and I think they're going to win more of their games playing defensive, more defensive hockey, 200-foot hockey, as Sutter likes to call it. So I think they're going to win more games 3-2, 2-1, and they have to, because I don't think they're going to have as many goals. They lost a lot of goals on the wing over the summer. And, yeah, I know they added some on defense and up the middle, but I still think this defense is going to be this team's forte, so I don't think anybody's worried. And don't forget, in both the Edmonton game and Colorado, they put 5 up on both those teams. Yeah. The other team scored the last 2 goals of the game. Like, the Flames were up by 3 or 4 goals in both games and just kind of held on and cruised and allowed a couple goals, just played it safe. So I don't know. I'm not worried about this team defensively at all. I think I would argue their blue line is as good as any in the league.
We're joined by Eric Francis, senior columnist with Sportsnet.ca. So if we go south of the border, a key Pacific Division matchup tonight, Calgary Flames and Vegas. When you look at some teams south of the border, which ones have caught your eye early? I made the mistake of thinking that maybe Vegas might have a tough year with an unestablished goalie. Maybe I'm wrong with Thompson. Certainly off to a nice start. Colorado, maybe the worry is that Kadri left a hole in the second slot at center that they have not filled out yet. Who's striking your fancy early?
Well, south of the border, I still think, one of the teams that beats going to be Carolina. I like some of the things they did in the offseason. The Rangers, I think Trocheck is going to be one of those guys. If you're in a hockey pool and you were smart enough to take Trocheck, this guy's going to be put in every prime position possible with such great talent around him, and that's a deep, deep team. That is a big question mark in Colorado. Can Alex Newhook be their second-line center? The guy was a stud as a youngster, putting up all sorts of points, but I'm not sure he's got the size or just the pedigree just yet to be a number 2 center in the National Hockey League. Evan Rodriguez is their second line, winger as well, and that, not many teams in the league wanted him. So yeah, there's some questions, but their firepower will still have them they'll be the class of the West. There's no question in my mind still. And Vegas is a fascinating one. Talking to people in Vegas this morning, they're here tonight, obviously. They think that they have the best team they've ever had since the team was incepted in 2017 in terms of skaters. Yes, massive question in terms of goaltending. Can Logan Thompson be the guy? He was fantastic the last 10 games of the year. I know this guy really well because he's a Calgarian and he's a phenomenal story. Went through the East Coast and all that, and here he is. And yet, when Aiden Hill and Laurent Brossoit are healthy, guess who's probably going down to the minors? Logan Thompson, because he's the only guy who doesn't have to clear waivers. So this guy could be their star for the first 20 games and then get sent down to the minors because they got cap issues down in Vegas. Anyway, long story short, I don't worry about Vegas. I think that down the middle and on the blue line, they are so deep, comparable to Colorado and Calgary now, in my opinion, in those 2 positions.
And Eric, last one for me. Just wanted to get your thoughts on Daryl Sutter's extension. I don't know if you know the term or dollars, but
did he get Eric Francis money?
I hope not. I hope he didn't. For him.
What do you? Any idea of what they what he got? How many years? Does he want to coach? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
I think, I really believe that he's, on a mission. Like, I think that if this team won the cup, I think he'd retire the next day. But I don't think he wants to retire until he wins a cup here. So I think that's the term I think we're looking at for Daryl Sutter. We all know he's got a short shelf life. But I say to everybody, most coaches do. If you don't win and the message doesn't seem to be getting through, then they tune a guy out. Daryl right now has their attention. He's the reason this team is this good. He's the reason they were that good last year. I believe it's a 3-year deal, and I'm fascinated. I haven't done any digging, but that's a good reminder. I should do some of that to find out.
Listen,
I don't want to do a lot of work.
Reporting.
If it's 1 penny under $4 million, he did them a huge favor. This guy's got $5 million all day long with his Stanley Cups and reputation. It's done.
I was going to say the exact same number. I'm not lying. If the going rate these days is $4 or $5 million for a top-notch, premier, proven Stanley Cup winning coach, well, then why wouldn't he get top dollar? I mean, he just won the Jack Adams. He turned this franchise around on a dime when he got here. There's no better argument for a coach getting $5 million than the one Daryl Sutter would have thrown together. And you know what? He didn't need to take a discount.
Nope.
He had them right where they wanted to. So, I got to find out who his agent is, how easy that negotiation was. My guess is he doesn't even have an agent. My guess is Daryl said, "You pay me $5 million, and or don't call me tomorrow." Yeah.
Enjoy the game tonight, Eric. Thanks for doing this.
Cheers, boys. Call anytime. I look forward. Hey, see if you can set up that steel cage match. I would love please.
All right.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it, buddy.
Cheers.
Well, $5 million.
Clearly, he's not a Mark Spector fan, eh?
Listen, I put him in this radio room. We'll leave the mics on. We'll leave the room. Close the doors. It's the right size.
If Mike Babcock's listening to the show today and he hears us talking about, he should have got $5 million easy. That's when Mike Babcock goes, "You're welcome."
Yeah. Can I say except you're welcome?
Say what you will, man. But oh my gosh, did he just, with one signing, Brendan Shanahan and Mike Babcock just changed everything for coaches.
Rising tide raises all boats. I did get a kick out of when that Babcock deal happened. He made some comments about raising the salaries for other coaches around the league. It's like, I would like to be a martyr like that for the rest of my media members. Let me go get paid so everyone can get paid a little bit more. I'll do it for everyone. I am willing to take that bullet for the team. Thank you, Mike Babcock.
So Kyle Dubas wasn't the only one looking for an extension and didn't get it.
Who else?
Bruce Boudreau.
Oh, yeah, that happened.
Yeah.
Bet they're glad they didn't.
And they kept him. And if we think that maybe Sheldon's kind of feeling a little tight in the collar, Bruce Boudreau blowing leads in the first, 3 games?
Yeah.
Is feeling it as well here.
Yeah, so the Canucks are the first team in NHL history to hold multi-goal leads in the first 3 games of the season and lose them all.
Yeah.
That's not good.
No.
Really?
You don't want to do that.
That true?
True.
Wow.
Yes.
That's really surprising and not good.
Nope, not great.
And not great. They are in Columbus tonight.
Columbus, though, also 0-3 and desperate at home.
Something has to give here.
And then after that, I think the Canucks have Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, who's undefeated.
Did you watch parts of the Washington game?
Yeah, the Leafs were playing, but I'm talking about it tonight on the telly, so I had to watch some.
If Demko isn't really first or second star, I'm not sure if they have much of a chance here. That it's a common theme for a few teams that we've seen already, and we're already having that conversation with the Blue Line in Toronto. We've had that conversation on Ottawa. Myers is out right now. He's left a hole because he's a minute muncher there. But if I'm not mistaken, a guy like Luke Shen right now is some nights asked to play 18, 20 minutes a night in Vancouver.
I had the audacity to say on TV last year that he shouldn't be Quinn Hughes' D partner. Vancouver, the whole city of Vancouver was mad at me. They love Luke Shen. He is on the first pair.
I love
for
Luke
the Canucks.
Shen too.
Me too.
First pair. No,
Not
I don't.
a chance.
I'm not loving him.
No.
As much.
Luke Shen would sit at this third microphone and say, I shouldn't be on the first pair in the NHL right now. Maybe he wouldn't admit it, but he will when his career's over. Yeah, it's just the D. You know, they need to make some additions on defense. The teams that have good D-cores right now are like, air quotes, surprising everyone, like Vegas. Great D-core. They're winning a lot. You know, that kind of goes with a lot of teams. Colorado, good D-core. They win. It's a theme. Having defense helps a whole bunch.
So they got Colorado, who's 0-3 desperate. And then Thursday.
Columbus, yeah.
Columbus. And then Thursday, they walk into the Wild, who got off to an 0-3 start.
20
goals.
Very good team,
20 goals in their first 3 games they've allowed, the Wild.
It's going to be a tough one for the Canucks because the Wild are not going to be that team all year.
And then they go home to Buffalo.
Okay. I'm going to give them that one.
We're going to give them that one?
Yeah.
I don't mind Buffalo, guys. I think
No, they're not fun to play.
There's some nights where you're just going to go,
They just
no,
don't have
they
enough
just don't have it tonight.
elite guys or whatever.
But there's going to be other nights when they're going to, a few of them are going to drag you into a fight.
So I want to talk about the things the Canucks are saying about the Canucks. And we have Bruce Boudreau, do we not, on the Canucks struggling?
Oh, I think right now, I mean, mentally weak would be a good assessment. I think, instead of when you're on a roll, you're waiting for good things to happen. When you're in something like this, you're waiting for something bad to happen. I mean, it's that's the natural portion of it.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm okay with what he's trying to say. I just wouldn't have put the 2 words together, mentally weak.
3 games into the season, he called his team mentally weak.
Well,
seems a bit excessive. All I hear,
I think it spoke to the point that he was trying to make, that when you lose confidence, and that makes you.
But it's not. They've been losing for a month. They lost a couple of games.
That's one of those where I think if you're Jimmy Rutherford or the owner, you're like, don't describe our team as mentally weak.
And aren't you the guy who's supposed to make them not mentally weak? Isn't that the coaching part of things? So yeah, it's not. That's tough. Yeah. All I hear is Boudreau from that Road to the Winter Classic saying you can't just want it. You have to go out there and effing want it. It's like, what?
See, and you know, he's another one like Kyle, asked for an extension, was told no, but in this instance, they decided after some lengthy time to bring him back.
Well, didn't he have a year left on the deal, or is that mistaken?
He had this year.
Okay, this
and
year.
he asked for one more.
Mm-hmm. And they're like,
usually,
we'll see how it goes.
Anyone that isn't fired would automatically get a parachute year. Not that it would send any type of message that you've got now new security. It's just one of those, if we let you go and you don't find a job right away, at least you got some income coming in.
Right. There's only 32 positions.
Yes. But now these guys are in a position that, they may be out of work following year.
We're not really worried for a guy they kept 3 games in, though.
Yeah, we are. I am 100%.
Since he took over the Canucks
that's a kooky organization, starting from the very top.
Yeah.
And very emotional and very knee-jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And if you hesitated on Bruce Boudreau and then decide to bring him back without extending him, I think everybody's talking about Lindy Ruff here in Jersey being on a short leash.
Yeah, you're right. Not having the extra year makes them a lot easier to get
putting
rid of.
Another loss on top of a team that's winless like Columbus, I think would really put the heat on Bruce Boudreau.
Wow, it's just crazy given how when he took over last year, Bruce, there it is, the Canucks rally, tough start, they almost make playoffs.
But
they look
Bruce,
like a different team.
There he is. Can't get a 1-year extension.
Mm-hmm. It's almost
That's-
like they
that's a-
don't see themselves as cup contenders, so they didn't want to, they'll bring in the next guy for that or something.
And somebody explained to me the thinking of keeping JT Miller and signing him to that huge deal and then not being sure on Bo Horvat. Like, if you go JT Miller, then you gotta go Bo Horvat on an extension. Do you not?
I don't know.
How come it's not that?
Just so you're saying you believe in the core, so pay the core. That's keep your guys.
Well, you're in on that kind of win now mode with the JT
This
Miller
is the thing.
signing.
This team has been halfway for years now. They're not bad enough to tank, but they're not good enough to go for it. They're just kind of in that murky middle, which is the worst case scenario, really.
Well, they were hot. Remember when they were hot in the bubble? Didn't they beat Vegas? They beat. Oh no, they went to 7 games with Vegas. They beat somebody else in the bubble, and Demko was unbelievable.
Yeah,
and
bubble Demko became a word.
And everyone thought that they were maybe a little further ahead.
So they have a players only meeting after the 3rd game of the season.
That has to be an
record,
NHL record,
unheard of. Usually that's
fastest player only meeting to start a season.
Yeah, and they asked
3 games.
They asked Bruce about it. They're like, what he thought, and he said something to the effect of like, "That's never good. It's never good." But in my experience with players only meetings, it's almost always later in the season when you're sick of the coach, and it's like, "F this guy. We're not, we're not doing it for him, but we all still have careers here. We need to find it within ourselves." It's that. It can't be that after 3 games with Bruce when they were so good at the end of last season. There's no way they're already like, to heck with Bruce. So I don't believe that. I feel like this is a harmless players only meeting where the guys are just like, what is going on in here? Do we need to have a chit chat, boys?
Pettersson's been good.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't think anyone else is off to like really good starts.
They're asking so much of their good players. Quinn Hughes played 30 minutes last night.
That's just ridiculous.
30 minutes in the first half of a back-to-back.
Did you see Connor Sherry kind of blow by everybody on the game winner last night?
Mm-hmm.
And he took a lot of heat for that too. But he's never going to be a great defender. I mean, we know what he's best at.
Yeah, which is why they got him taped to Luke Shen, but that's not a solution necessarily. I don't know your experience. Do you ever have any players only meetings over your years that were?
I don't mind them.
Yeah.
I don't mind them. But guess what? When we all go out for dinner, it's kind of a player only meeting.
Right.
And when we go for beers, it's all players only. Like it's kind of like,
Showy.
It's showy. It's kind of like
just the leadership group being
it's a
like, we're trying to do
message.
something
Yes,
here.
Once the media finds out player only meeting, it's like, oh, now they're really serious.
Yeah.
But there's constant times when I get it. You're not going out to dinner with 20 guys and you can get everybody in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, there's only really 5 guys in there that lead the charge and everybody else is too scared to say anything.
Well,
or just
it's
nod
funny though.
their head.
Often there's one guy who shouldn't talk who does. And everyone's like, shut up, Mike.
Yeah.
The captains are talking.
You only played 4.5 minutes last night. Oh, no, wait. You were a healthy scratch.
Do you remember when Garrett Sparks in the media gave it to the Leafs about their effort? And everyone's like, no.
Yeah, after they lost.
Even if you're right, you don't get to
They
do
lost
that.
6-0 that night. And he was in net.
Yeah.
Our next player meeting only is gonna be on you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Guess who's the topic of the next
that's where
one?
we're going with it.
Another note, another Canadian team that Eric Engel tweeted out today that Canadians Carey Price is scheduled to speak with the media on Monday, October 24th.
It's quite a
We
ways
can
off formal
all
retirement.
think about, but there's really no reason, first of all, to ever formally retire. So it's got to be more than that. You understand that if you officially
you
retire,
stop getting paid.
you stop getting paid.
So yeah,
You
you're
sign your
not doing that.
papers, you're not getting paid. There's nobody ever does that anymore.
What if he's waiving a no trade clause and explaining why he's doing it?
Oh my God.
No, that's not Carey calling a press conference to do that. That's
would
the
be-
team.
I'm taking my talents to South Beach.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a tough time for him. He did speak publicly about his challenges, about
Mhm.
how surgery would be a long shot to get himself better.
Yeah.
You know,
It could be not
It's
that he's
kinda
formally
sad.
announcing retirement, but just announcing that he's been LTI retired. He's not able to play.
So that's what I was gonna. Do you think he ever plays again?
I don't.
I
Kyper?
think he's done.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's done.
Hall of Famer, first ballot.
No,
don't know.
not first ballot for me.
I don't
mean,
know.
he's got
a
a
Hart
MVP.
Trophy. Yeah.
MVP
Mm-hmm.
and a gold medal.
Yeah.
And I don't know, lots of All-Stars and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But and he's been amazing, and
He has.
he's helped them
Hell of
be
a career.
way better than at times they should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But
Took him to the Cup
he
finals
had-
a year. They didn't
if-
really
if-
have much.
if he had the same career in Columbus, would you be super excited about him?
I don't know. I think so.
The year
I
he
think I would still.
the year he won the MVP, he was 44-16 with a 196 goals against and a 933 save percentage and 9 shutouts.
Some
Doggy.
some people blame Chris Kreider for starting all of this. Do you remember that
He
collision?
ran into him, yeah.
2014, I think.
The biggest, maybe one of the biggest whoopsies of all time outside of
Game-
Kyper and Fierzy.
Kipper, yeah.
Easy. I didn't bring this up so you can drag me into this thing. So stop it right there.
I'm done.
Stop it right there. But some suggest that's where it all started for him.
Chris Kreider was the bullet train in that video you and I just watched in Japan.
Which, at the end of the day is probably better than Matt Murray disappearing for warm-up.
Yeah.
You
At least
know?
there's an incident.
I mean, that one is really,
What year? That was
really strange.
was that 2014, 2015 when that happened?
Yeah, 2014, I think.
Who remembers that stuff?
I'm just looking
I
at his
just
numbers
remember
here.
the charge into Carey Price.
Yeah.
I'm just remembering it, and I'm looking at his numbers after that.
Ah.
And they were never the same.
Right. That makes sense.
Like
But-
the next year he played 12 games and he had a 934, 923, and then it's 900, 918, 909, 901, 878. It just kind of steady downhill after that. And that's aging too, but there could be something to that.
For sure. So tonight, are we good on turning the page on
Yeah,
that?
we're good.
Tonight in Ottawa, the Boston Bruins, who are 3-0, go.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm watching Boston last night. I'm watching Jake DeBrusk.
Yeah.
Look like a rock star. Did you watch Jake last
Ooh,
night?
How about this guy? Just like, I'm not getting traded now. I'm going to be a full-on Bruin.
Yeah, the Bruins are the Bruins again, right?
They are.
Yeah, we thought they're
No,
going to
I
suck
didn't
this
see
year.
it though, Kipper.
Oh, he was good.
Yeah.
He was really good.
And so, they're 3-0. They're rolling along. They go into Ottawa tonight. Tuesday night, standing room only to get tickets. They have a deal where $5 beers before the game, I think, in the parking lot. And the first 5,000 fans wearing Sens gear get cowbells. Like, they got a whole mojo going here, the Sens. 0-2.
Good.
Better win.
The 0-2 Sens are rolling. You're right. Good. I agree.
And just play hard, keep them excited, keep them engaged, and just hope that you can hang in there come February or March.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you on that. And one last thing I wanted to ask you about was the Jack Campbell start, and if you have any concerns about Campbell and just what Edmonton has signed themselves up for,
Yeah.
given his second half last year.
I think he's a good goalie, and I think there's a lot of character in his opening game to shut the door against Vancouver, I think, right? Where
Mhm.
Vancouver got off to a heck of a start. So I think he'll be fine, but will it be enough for Edmonton to look at that blue line as well and go, Jack's going to bail you out with a blue line that, I don't know. I mean,
right
outside
now,
of Darnell Nurse, what's there?
well, right now the pairs are Darnell Nurse with Cody Ceci.
Yeah, is Cody Ceci a frontline defenseman?
Oh no,
A top pairing D-man?
no, but they love
But
him.
but
They
we're
love him
going
in
to expect
Edmonton.
him to be one for the Edmonton Oilers, who are supposed to contend for a Stanley Cup.
Ryan Murray and Evan Bouchard, Brett Kulak and Tyson Barrie. That's the way they're set up right now.
And Kulak was the one that blew a wheel on Kadri
yes,
Saturday night. I
yes.
felt horrible for him.
Yeah, I mean that happens. That's not like
Yeah,
Kulak's a
no,
guy
no,
who
no,
can't
no,
skate
no,
or
no,
something.
no. Yeah, I'm not. That's not the reason why I brought
No,
it
no,
up.
I know.
But I'm just. I come on.
Yeah.
That's not a contending blue line.
No. No, it's not. And that's why the Battle of Alberta, I give the edge to Calgary. Interesting hearing Francis, by the way, mention that like Huberdeau so far, not overly impressed by him. I do think, though, that it's the D that separates them in Edmonton.
Some in Florida thought, nice player, but.
About Uyghur?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Huberdeau.
Oh, Huberdeau.
Yeah. He had a record-breaking year, but some in Florida thought he was soft.
Boy, it would be really surprising because, he was talked about in the Hart Trophy race for a while last year. A ton of points,
Talented guy.
Yeah, great vision. Just not like a natural goal scorer, but it'll be interesting.
What did he end up with, 115 points?
Yeah, something. I think that sounds right.
He may never reach that, in his career ever again. That was like one of those maybe just career years.
Yeah.
Granted, you'll still take 95
right
all day long.
But I did forget how good that line was last year, as in the best line in the NHL with Tkachuk. So big shoes to fill.
All right. Just like that.
Yep.
Our show's done. Our thanks to Gord Stellick. Our thanks to Eric Francis, wherever you're watching and listening. Thanks for joining us. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube if you're still around. Why is it when the Leafs lose or lose bad, we get the most watchers on YouTube? Sammy, why is that?
All of them.
That's Leaf fans in a nutshell, baby.
All right. See you tomorrow.
Regardless, we're glad you're watching. Talk to you tomorrow.